All right, what's up, y'all? Today we have a great guest, good friend of mine, energetic, family man, dad, husband, 20 years of experience in sports, media, health, and wellness, and everything. New business models, markets, tough. Now he's a CEO of Famer. My friend, Rich Abend. What's up, Rich?
What's up? Good to be here. I'm tired just from that explanation alone. God, that sounds like a lot of stuff.
Man, listen, it doesn't say you're old; it says you're wise. So,
That's
so
right.
we'll give you that, man. So, what's new? Tell us what's going on with you, man. Give the people some news.
Yeah, so excited to be here. Appreciate you having me. Big believer in Ivan and his program and everything he's built. So I'm happy to be connected here. For the last 9 months, I've been the CEO of a company called Famer. It's a sports coaching and mentorship platform. Basically, it's a mobile app that enables personalized coaching programs and interactive feedback between coaches, kids, and sports clubs. So we want to make sports coaching with our youth of America more accessible, more connected, and we want to help coaches and clubs create great content to continue to reach those athletes and continue to help make them better when they're not together, when they're not on the courts, when they're not on the field. So we've built a program and partnerships with sports clubs across the country that are now utilizing our platform to be able to help improve communication, improve play, improve parent involvement, and ultimately keep kids on track.
I mean, I remember the first time that we met up, right? And it was through Jeff Park, I think.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Jeff
That's right.
Park, he connected us, and I had the events thing going on, and I'm like, all right, I'm trying to blow this thing up. He's like, yeah, I think you should talk to Rich. Rich might be making a move somewhere. So I'm like, okay. So I hit you up, and we had a small conversation. Then we met up Pershing Square. We met up on Pershing Square in the city, and you started telling me everything that you're doing. And when I was thinking about it, I remembered myself as a youth athlete. I'm like, where do I get the coaches? Like, at my age, I wish this was around what you're creating now was around when I was playing, right? Because you might not have access to the trainers, you might not have all the crazy money, right? But if you can go on your platform and say, all right, I have my trainer right here, I can sign on to this club's trainer and get access and then go to the park and work on what I'm back in the days, on what I wanted to work on. For me, that's such a great thing. Where did Famer come from? Like, what's the origin of Famer? Tell us that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like many startups, it was a slight pivot. The company was founded out of Tel Aviv, Israel, and still all our technology is built out of there with some of the best tech people in the world. You get some kids that are 21 years old that just spent 4 years in the army with 4 years experience in building and creating technology, and these kids are 21 are like off the chart superstars. So it's a hotbed of like building great tech. So their vision for Famer was really more of a consumer app, and it was more about creating challenges to make you famous, almost like the TikTok model where you can like go, kick a soccer ball and hit the left post, or go hit, a 100-foot jump shot. All these like crazy things, both in sports and out of sports. And they quickly realized that wasn't, it's very expensive to go build a consumer platform to get, millions of kids and people creating challenges on that. So they decided to pivot to sports coaching. They called me. I had a big background in the youth and amateur sports technology market. I come from a family of coaches. My dad was a baseball, basketball coach at Bronx High School of Science. So I grew up around this world. I grew up playing sports. So it was definitely a personal passion of mine. But I also have a deep background in the world of like youth and amateur sports technology. So for me, it was clear to me that I saw the opportunity. But instead of doing it in the way that we were originally thinking, we decided to focus in on the clubs, the coaches, the kids that are saying, I'm committed to my sport. And that doesn't mean like, we know that there's problems in youth and amateur sports right now where kids are committing to one sport too early. They're focused, they're playing one sport 10 months a year at 8, 9, 10 years old. We want kids playing multiple sports because they're developing different muscles, different skills, and so forth. But what's happening, certainly in America, is kids and parents are all in on training, on whatever it takes to help my kid get better. Now, you and I both know many of these kids will not go D1. They will not play professional, but that's okay because a lot of the times it's really about building better kids, executive functioning. How do I get better and train right and practice right to prepare to do the best I can? The best I can could be, making that high school team. It could be making that club, making the starting lineup, or just socializing better, right? If you as a basketball player, there's a lot of kids that play that, they don't have any background in it. They aren't very good. And the kids that do play, it's hard for them to play with them. We want, everyone to have a chance to, on their own, have the right tools, have the right content and things that are going to actually help them make them better, whatever their better is.
So take me through the mentorship part of the app, right? Explain that to me.
Yep.
So I can fully understand, I understand the coaching side of it, especially me being a ex-coach and getting out of school and starting a training business and then a camp business. This would have been very useful for me. So take me through the mentorship aspect of it.
Yeah, we see it a couple of ways. First and foremost, mentorship means many things, right? So you have to be careful to not clearly define it, because it could mean something different to everybody across different things. It starts to become wellness started to become where what does wellness really mean? And it's different for everybody. However, kind of what I mentioned before, which is it's around the whole child, right? Helping that kid both on and off the field get better. Because as we know, even somebody who has inspirational and great parents that are there for them and they're there along the way, the coach and the club and their trainer has a different voice. That's a different relationship with that child. So while I coach my son, I can't I can't sometimes make him better at the sport of basketball, which is his chosen sport, because he's tuning me out. He's listening to me for 80 other things, right? So he needs a new voice. He needs somebody that he finds credible in the sport of basketball, that's delivering him something in a way that, is really helping to make him better. And so we think mentorship, we think that Famer gives you a safe place where coach and kid and parent is involved in his communication. It gives them a new safe place and a place to really communicate around, how do I help that child with my knowledge of that kid? How do I help him or her get better at the sport that they're looking to get better in? So it becomes much more direct, much more personalized and customized to that kid, right? So it's not just pulling a bunch of skills, drills, and things off of YouTube or Instagram. It's a very personal relationship is one piece of it. The other piece of it is we want to layer in. It's not just about the skills and drills and the things that make you a better athlete. It's the things off the field. It's thinking the game better. It's how do you prepare better. I always give the example, and I think I told you this, on the way to a basketball game. My son was, playing Fortnite on the phone. Thankfully, he's kicked that habit. And I turned to him and I said, "You're not going to play well today." He's like, "Well, why do you say that?" I go, "Because if you're playing that and that's where your head is right now, how are you, visualizing what you're going to go do on the court?" And again, I'm the first person to say it's not about putting pressure. It's about just getting people to mentally prepare to perform. Whatever their perform is. Doesn't mean he had to be the best on the court. It just means that he had to go in with the right mindset to do the best that he can. So we think it's important to, start thinking about cognitive performance, human performance, how to think the games better, how to prepare better, which we think is going to go a long way in helping those kids with executive functioning and become better, human beings, which is really what it's all about. As we know, a lot of us get involved in sports because it's sort of a great microcosm for life, right?
Yeah.
Of teamwork and camaraderie and the experience of just training and practicing and getting better. You could take that with you in anything you do, above and beyond wherever your sports journey ends.
Yeah, and I think that's very impressive. And I say the sports in itself becomes the mentor, right? Because it has its own lessons. But something that's very important in youth sports that I know I was going through and I was seeing is parents, right? What are the parents' feedback in the product and how the kids are perceiving what you're giving out?
So it's interesting. I talk about this all the time where I had a kid that plays in a program for 4 years. I pay that program a lot of money each year for him to be part of that program. And I've never gotten 1 ounce of direct feedback on what my child could do to improve his performance and get better, which again, doesn't say as much about that coach as it does about just the way the system is broken. Mom and dad and any coach that's listening to this can attest to a lot of moms and dads are saying, what can I do? How can I help my child get better, right? What can I do? Well, you can hire me as a personal trainer. Certainly that's one thing, right? But what we're finding with Famer is mom and dad are like actually now in the know, whether they played the sport or not of what their kid is participating in. More often than not, and almost always, that parent doesn't know how to actually help their child get better at that sport, right? So I could watch my son play lacrosse, 100 games a year, and I would have no idea how to like actually help him get better at the sport of lacrosse because that's not my sport.
Right.
And in a sport that I did play, like basketball, I could watch, I see what he needs to work on, but it's different coming from the coach. But what's happening now with Femur is we're taking like all the things that you should be working on and we're turning it into like short form, actionable mobile video, which is the way kids learn today. Anybody who's got a child that's listening to this, they watch their kid and they're just zipping through, looking at, from TikTok to Instagram to anything. So Snapchat, and everything is short form, short form, short form. You start giving them like PDFs or digital, like half of them, these kids don't even know what email is, most of them.
Right.
You start giving them things that go beyond like a 45-second video of teaching them and showing them what to do. They're out. And what's beautiful is we're giving the parents the same content. So now I could like literally, whether parents are just, fielding the ball, rebounding the ball, passing on a drill, whatever it is, they can actually contribute because they can see the same content and say, hey, let's go out and practice. And now I actually have a plan. So it becomes almost like we don't want to call it homework. We call it play work because, if kids are sitting on the phone, right, we have a partnership with this group called Super Soccer Stars.
Yeah.
And part of our motto and mantra with them is if you can't beat them, train them. And it's kind of like, hey, if they're going to be on the phones anyway, let's give them short form, like actionable mobile video content that they can go use to go get better at something.
That's interesting. And you said something about the soccer club, right? And a lot of these clubs and coaches that, I've had relationships with in the past, and we talked about this in the past as well, the business side is something that they may not understand. So this may not only save some of these programs, but add extra value, add another revenue stream. Talk about that a bit.
Yeah. So, in youth and amateur sports, even though the business is booming, it's a $17 billion plus business in the youth sports market today. So there's no doubt, we all know that mom and dad are spending a hell of a lot of money and sometimes upwards of 20% of total income against their kids' youth sports journey, partly because they want their kids to have a chance, maybe get a college scholarship, maybe go pro, but a lot of times it's also just like ego, right? Like like they want their kid to be better than the other kid, and that's fine too. For us, what we're doing is you can't just keep jumping up fees because mom and dad are paying so much already. So you can't just start adding fees that aren't really appropriate and relevant. What we found with Famer is we're creating a model and a business plan that, in youth sports and amateur sports, all the four stakeholders need to win, right? When we say four stakeholders, it's organization or sports club, right? They need to win. The coach needs to win. The athlete, of course, needs to win. And mom and dad need to win. So in our scenario, club is now getting incredible amount of new library of like coaching and training content that's personalized and customized for their club. They're opening up a new revenue stream, yes, but they have better communication, better parent engagement, all the things that they need to actually create a better club. And to be honest, keep mom and dad staying with your club and paying you registration fees and dues year over year. The coach is our star. The coach is at the center of everything that we do. We want to not only put new revenue into coaches' pockets, but obviously help coaches reach kids more often. Like, again, I come from a family of coaches. If coaches can coach more and take less side jobs,
Right.
everybody wins.
Right.
So with our technology and our product, you're actually able to continue coaching while that kid is at school. You're still looking at their videos. You're assigning them things that they can do when you're not together. So you're still able to, yes, make more money, but also like continue to coach and monetize what you do so well. So you don't have to take a second job or a third job or on your lunch hour, you might be a teacher and you coach after school. You can continue to earn and continue to do what you love. Then there's the athlete, right? I mean, we talked about the parent engagements, and now mom and dad are actually in the know on how to help support their child. Just like education technology has changed the world of education, whereas it wasn't too long ago, my kids would come home from school and I'd say, how was school today? Good. What'd you do? Nothing. And I'd be like, I don't know anything. I have to reach in the backpack to figure out what's going on.
Right.
Now, unfortunately for them, and a lot of kids today growing up, everything's connected through technology. So I see when they miss an assignment, what I can do to help them at home, what their test scores are real time. So the world has changed. We think the same rules should apply to youth and amateur sports, which is mom and dad should know, how is their kid doing? And again, it's not about like being the best or being the worst. It's just, what can my kid do to improve, and what can I do to support them? And it ultimately comes back down to the athlete, right? We want the athletes to improve. They want them to have the tools that they need in a personal way to say, these are the things that I can do to make myself better. And that's, we're finding a lot of success. But all four stakeholders have to buy in for somebody to like actually want to pay for your technology.
Right. And I'm a big proponent of, impacting the environment, right? And when I started this, we had this idea of starting a podcast, and I'm like, who should be the first guest, right? And I'm lucky enough to know guys like yourself. And when we talk about wellness and we talk about that definition, it goes many ways, but the foundation of it starts at the core, at the youth, right?
Yeah.
Where I started. So I'm like, there's nobody better to bring than yourself, right? So take us through your 20 years of experience and how that's gotten you to this point, and how are you using that in building the business?
Yeah. So first and foremost, like the business of wellness was something that, like anybody out there who's listening, right? If you can combine a personal passion and a professional passion, that's best case scenario. Doesn't mean that there's a business there. Doesn't mean you'll make money doing it, but that's really like the holy grail. Like that's best case scenario. A lot of us, like me, would have loved to have played sports professionally and made a lot of money and gone that route. But as we know, that's a very few that get to like experience that and have that type of lifestyle. So for me, what happened was, I was part of a sports marketing agency that did like, traditional sports deals. Like we would do media deals, we'd do sponsorship deals, we'd represent corporate brands and say, hey, MasterCard, let me help you spend your money in the sport of, golf or basketball or whatever it may be. And what was clear to me was there's a lot of companies that already did that, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm competing with bigger, better companies that have more resources, that had more experience, that were doing it, quite honestly, better than I could do it. But this was at a time that it was, late 90s. And what started to happen was this trend of health and wellness. And it did start out a little rocky in that I'd say that people were more focused on dieting and South Beach diet and this type of diet. And the fitness and the active lifestyle piece was part of it. But as I started to go, and it started out representing corporate brands saying, hey, brand X, like, you focus all your business in like sports and entertainment and traditional media, there's a whole growing segment here of people that are looking to live better, looking to live healthier, like looking for a better life. And like you said before, what wellness means is a little bit different than everybody, right? Some people need to lose a lot of weight. Some people need to like deal with a disease state. Like there's so many different pieces of it. But what we started to find and build were corporate brands that wanted to be part of that solution. They wanted to help people get healthy and get active and get well, and whatever that meant to them. And for me, it was a transformation because I went to a partner in a sports marketing agency and I said, this is what we should be doing. And he won't admit that. And if he ever hears this, I'm definitely going to send this to him. He'll say, nah, there's no business there. Forget that. Let's not do that. Now he views himself as a big wellness expert, but I'm proud of that actually. And I kept saying, no, what we're doing is been there, done that. This is new. This is where the world is going. And this is something that like, not only can we be experts in, but it's something that like we have like a deep passion for. And like, this is actually meaningful. It's not just like helping, companies spend millions of dollars in the world of sports. It's actually helping people get healthy and well. And that's meaningful. So, and the way we thought about it was not just endemic companies to get involved. That's easy to say, like, Gatorade, you should be helping athletes, put more out on the field or on the courts. They were already doing that. It was more about finding non-traditional brands, media companies, people to say, I want to stand up and this is for everybody, whether I'm an MTV, I'm an NBC, I'm Michelob Ultra, like everybody should be sort of helping people get healthy and well in their own way. So it really became an expert in that and built a passion for it and did it over a couple different organizations. I also saw the other side, which was I helped create a business that was a corporate wellness business. Now, it's one thing when you're talking about consumers that, get more people running, get more people to the gym. That's one piece of it. When you look at corporate wellness, we're talking about people that literally can't get off the couch and don't know
Right.
where to start. So it's the other side of it, which is all the tools that people need to literally like build a plan and get started. So it gave me this incredible perspective around like, yes, building businesses, but number one, but number two, around like what type of programming and what type of messaging and what type of like opportunities actually affect change
Right.
and matter. And from a youth and amateur sports standpoint, we all know like there's a lot wrong with the way the business is run. There's too much focus on the wrong things. Kids are getting hurt at an alarming rate now. Kids aren't focused on multi-sports. They're like, I have a friend whose son is playing 10 months of baseball a year. By the time he was 14, his arm was finished, which is obviously unfortunate because the kid was supremely talented. So it's not about taking kids' eye off the ball, but it's about creating well-rounded kids. Build your core, right? Think about
Right.
things that are obviously better nutrition, better health, making better choices. These are all the things like taking care of your body from a young age. Now, I'll be the first one to say, like, I think I was 25 years old before I ever stretched, right? I was one of those people that could wake up and go out and play 3 hours of basketball and like not even think about it. Then you hit a certain age and it was like, uh-oh. So, but it's creating these types of habits and behaviors really, really young, getting people to think about the world in the right way so they're building better habits, building better solutions for themselves, and it's going to pay off later. So we're hopefully building better, stronger people and not just giving kids like a bunch of stuff that they don't want to hear.
Right. Right. And to allude to that more, I see you're part of the organization Action for Healthy Kids, right? Explain a little bit about that organization and what they do.
Yeah, they do tremendous work. I've been on the board for 5 years. It's a Chicago-based organization that actually works directly with 50,000 schools, middle schools and down for the most part, in elementary schools, where it really started out more about working with brands and government like grants of people that wanted to help affect change at schools, meaning focused on the wellness and the active lifestyle stuff, like bringing programming and new equipment and gym to schools that didn't have it. It's really morphed into that whole child being able to, a kid, as we know, kids are hungry, right? If you are hungry in the morning and you're not getting fed breakfast, you're not ready to learn. So
Right.
it's being able to create a more well-rounded approach, doing it with, again, brands, government grants, companies that want to make a difference, incredible companies that put their money up to actually help drive and affect change at schools. Because I think that was, as we know, like you can walk in any school now and there's posters and there's things that are happening and it's changed, right? That even what's served in many cafeterias has changed, but as we know, like I'm born and raised in the Bronx, they never got to my schools, that's for sure. So there's a lot of schools that they're not able to get to, and it's not just about the high-end schools in high-end suburban areas. It's about every kid should deserve a chance no matter what's happening at
Right.
home in their community. And school is the one sort of common denominator that allows every kid to be able to like have those types of advantages. So we're out constantly trying to raise money and build partnerships to help us fund like great initiatives and programs on schools' behalf.
And the conversations, even with the youth and amateur athletes now, it's interesting because I'm still a sports performance director and I create programs for athletes of ages, you name it, 11 to 27, right? And the 11-year-olds are starting to advance their conversations in the sense of they understand that, oh, I need to eat better, right? How do I sleep better to perform better, And
Yep.
what are the challenges you guys are having as a technology company with getting the youth to not only, aggregate and take consume the content, but continue to consume it? What are, if any?
I mean, look, we're still in our first year of like launching, so it's our number one challenge and also like objective, which is to get the kids and the families to utilize this as a tool in an ongoing manner to continue to help them make make them better, whether it's over the course of a month, a season, a full year, however they want to use it. But you're right, it's staying on a plan and with a curriculum that really ramps up, meaning like what you're doing in week 2 could and should be tied to what you did in week 1. So you should continue building on that. So staying with a curriculum and a plan is really an important piece. But what we're doing is some of the biggest challenges for sure are, you're creating a new behavior, right? So it's easy for mom and dad to dump kids off and say, go to practice and they'll pay for it. And that's where you learn your sport and whatever you're doing. It's that extra effort, just like it is to help your child get better at school, to sit with them, right? Read with them, test them. And it's the same thing in youth sports, right? So we're trying to create a new behavior through a new mechanism that is, that just takes time to sort of build. We're seeing a lot of success because we're also working with clubs and organizations that are saying, this is the way we train. And then going back to what we talked about before, if the coach and the mentor is bought in and they're not just like distributing something over tech, but they're talking to you in practice saying, this is what I need you to do this week, check on Famer. And this is like what, I want you to work on these 3 skills. Like, my son needs to work on his handle, right? So there are specific drills that his coach is now giving him that he can go work on, right? Which he should be doing right now. If he has time in the driveway, he should be working on those things like with his free 20 minutes, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is, you don't want this to become homework or a chore.
Right.
Because if it does, kids are out.
Yeah.
So gamifying it, making it more fun, making it a little bit more competitive, but more like, hey, if my friend on my team is doing it and I could see what they're training and the time that they're putting in, I want to put in that time too. So you want to touch a little bit on the competitiveness, a little bit of the fun factor of it, meaning like this should just be for everyone. And again, the personalization of it, meaning if I gave, I coach a team and I got 10 kids. If I gave all 10 kids the same exact stuff to work on, probably wouldn't be like completely fair because there are different abilities and they have different things they need to work on. I know these 10 kids now. So I could say, you 3 need to work on this, you 2 should work on this, and I have the content ready to distribute. So it's building a behavior, and it's also creating an extra behavior that kids and parents have to adopt as sort of part of their schedule if they want to get better at that sport. So, and that's no small undertaking.
Yeah.
What we have is coaching clubs saying, this is the way we're doing it. So you either get with the program or you're gonna fall behind. Because parents, everybody's got the fear of missing out, right? So if parents and those kids feel like the next kid is getting an advantage or doing something, bigger, better, and harder, they want to do it typically as well. So we're going to play a little bit off of the competitive piece.
Right, and I think that's the right thing to do. Take me, if I'm a coach, right, or I run a club, take me through the onboarding and installation process of, the sign up with Famer as the partnership collides.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And it's in technology and in youth and amateur sports, we try to take all the friction and make it very simple to get involved with us. Because for us, our model is a little bit unique and different in that clubs, coaches, programs that we work with, they don't pay us anything. And in exchange, we're actually going to be content creators. So what's unique about what we're doing is we think coaches and trainers all over the world and sports clubs, they have their own unique intellectual property, their own unique style of way they connect with the kids and coach the kids and train the kids. They have their own, in their head, drills and things that they do in practice or, that they run in clinics for athletes. We become both technology people, marketing people, but also content creators. Your content is going to look and feel very different than another basketball organization or another basketball coach or trainer. We want to bring that to life, and we're doing it through this incredibly professionally shot short form content. So in one day, we'll come out to a group's court. We put their coaches, their trainers, their colors, their court, their home court. It's very familiar. It's very personalized and customized, and we bring to life all the ways they teach and train the game of the sport that they teach. We do some work on the front end, which is some pre-production, like what is it that you want to say? What is it that you want to shoot? Because we don't tell them what to shoot or what to say. It's their show. We want to make them the star and put it on film for them. Now, Once you do that, you have a library of all this incredible like stuff that you can slice and dice, do one-on-one training, do group training, do team training. You could just say, hey, age specific training. Hey, 8-year-old, here's over the next 12 weeks, these are the things you should be doing. Week 1, here's the content to go do. Week 2, here's the content to go do. So we make it very simple for clubs, coaches, and training programs to sign up for us. And for them, they're like, wait a minute, I get all this incredible content at no cost. You'll do this for me? And the answer is yes, but we do it with organizations that say, we're going to put Famer as part of our registration fee. And again, we don't want to price gouge. We want to make the program better. We want to make kids better. We want to, yes, create new revenue streams, but we want everybody to win in that, on that model that I explained before. So it's really important that to do all this, the club wins because they're able to help make the kids better, and mom and dad ultimately will pay for it. And what we're seeing is mom and dad feel engaged. They feel part of the program now. They're more excited. They actually know what their kid's doing and how to help and support their kid a little bit more. As we know, not every parent is going to go in the backyard or into the park and help their kid.
Right.
That's okay, right? We know that's not going to happen for everybody, and we also know not every kid is self-motivated and hey, I'm going to go out and do this. But the goal is to try to create a sort of an environment that allows every kid to sort of perform and and practice the right way, because a couple things are happening, right? Number one is, my son is a basketball player. If I say go out and practice, what's he doing? He's doing Kevin Durant, one-footed step backs from three-pointer. Is that making him a better 12-year-old basketball player? Of course not. So it's really important. So our onboarding with the clubs and the coaches is very simple, because we're the ones shooting the content, creating it, editing it, curating it, distributing it, hosting it, and then ultimately monetizing it. Everything on behalf of the clubs and the coaches. The clubs and the coaches, they need to buy into the fact that this is the way we train, right? This is an extension and enhancement of our program, and I need to utilize it the right way, because if mom and dad are paying for it and athletes are waiting for coaches to give them what they need and the coach isn't, the whole thing falls down. So we really make sure the coach is the star. They're at the center of everything, and we make it very simple. The product itself, no offense to coaches, no offense to, like I said, I come from a family of coaches, and my brother, who's a coach, would never use Famer because technology has passed them by a little bit. So we realize that it's really important to make the product extremely simple, user-friendly. There are great tools on it, but we spend an inordinate amount of time with coaches and clubs educating, showing them how to use it. It's the most intuitive product I've ever been around, which is great, which is why I was attracted to the business.
Right.
But we also know we have to also continue the education, continue the hand-holding with coaches and clubs to make sure they understand how to utilize the product and when it was meant to be utilized.
Right, and those are very key points, because once again, like we talked about on air, there's sports that are growing at a high level, women's lacrosse is continue to grow. Yep. Soccer is starting, since the last Olympics, is starting to grow because the USA understood that, man, I don't think they made it to the World Cup, or if they did, they lost early, but they're starting to put a lot of revamping on their club. So what sports are you seeing, as the big push for you guys, or is it just, you want to attack every sport equally?
Yeah, we went back and forth in the beginning. Do we just stay very focused on one or two verticals and just try to own those sports? Do we go have at it and say, hey, whatever sport makes sense, let's go do it, because the technology's built, right? You just really have to change some of the structures of the content to show because obviously the type of stuff you do in lacrosse is different than the type of stuff you would do in basketball or baseball.
Right.
So where we landed is on the first year, we're hyper focused on lacrosse and soccer, and I'd say basketball is number 3. Basketball partly because our team has a love and relationships for the sport of basketball, and we have some good relationships with big clubs and programs that wanted to work on it. But soccer and lacrosse have really been, I would say, our lead sports, and I think you hit the nail on the head, which is girls soccer and lacrosse are growing at a ridiculous amount, and we actually think, and we all know girls are better, more organized, more disciplined than boys, especially young girls. As a father of a daughter and a son, I could say that honestly. However, So we actually think girls will be, even better users of Famer in the beginning. So we're really excited about that. We're doing, a bunch of deals with girl-only lacrosse and soccer programs that we're excited to announce. So that's definitely our biggest push. We did do a deal with a company called the Spring League, which is a developmental football league. We do have a hockey deal we're about to do, which is field hockey, which is mostly female, but there's certainly some male. So we are going across some different sports, but we're really hyper-focused on, I would say, soccer 1, lacrosse 2, and basketball 3.
Are the sizes of the clubs a variation? Like, is that something you guys look at?
We do, except I think it's more about who they are and how they run the club versus the size of the club. So, soccer, absolutely has the biggest clubs, right? So they, a good soccer club, some of our partners have 2, 3, 4,000 registrations. Sometimes they're multi-state as well. So that's a big part of it. So certainly, you want to focus where the bigger opportunities are. But the reality is, a sport like lacrosse, a sport like hockey, like mom and dad are paying a lot for those programs and they're investing a lot. And those sports are probably the most advanced, like one-on-one training. Whereas I saw some stat, like 70% of like club lacrosse players are paying for one-on-one training in some form or fashion. Yeah. So we also see big opportunity there. I would say for us, especially in the first like year, 2 years of business, the size of the club, sure, we factor that in, but it's as much about who is running the club and who's involved in the club. And yes, the DNA of the kids and the parents, certainly, but it's not just about like who can pay for it, right? It's really more about which coaches, which clubs say, this is where the world is going. I need to help train this way. And if I could be a first mover to create this content, to go not just have off the shelf like somebody else's content, to have actually my content, that's making my program better, it's making my brand better, it's making the engagement with everybody better. And ultimately, we want to help them build a great business. And doing that through content where they can leverage it on social and their marketing, that sort of should be the gift that keeps on giving. So we're trying to find the right type of partners that really help advance our business as well.
So what do the next 3 to 5 years look like for Famer in your mind? If you visualized it, it's clean. I know you have a couple times.
Got to be careful to make sure my competitors don't get this. No, so
right.
So there's a couple of things. When you think about the pyramid of youth and amateur sports athletes, right? At the top, you got these elites, right? Kids that they don't pay for anything. They're playing school sports or they're playing for high-end clubs and everybody wants them, and they're at the top level. They're going to go on and do something special in their life, whether it's college scholarship or something like that or beyond. You go down the pyramid, right? There's these sports clubs that are taking it serious. They're training hard. There's sometimes 10 months a year. I mean, they're really all in. That's a big part of our business for sure. That's like where we're focused right now. Beyond that, you start to look at more of what I'd call self-service, which is we don't have to shoot the production. There's a lot of people out there that can create their own content or have their own program, or they're just looking for a place to host, distribute, and then monetize the content where they can utilize a tech platform to train their kids. So they're just looking, they don't need our hand-holding. They don't need a lot of effort from us. They just need a platform to go do what they do, and they're already doing it. And we'll build out a self-service platform that any coach, any club, any team, anybody that doesn't need like the bigger sort of partnership can go have at it and go utilize Famer to make money and to run their program. From there, in the next 3 to 5 years, like we know where the elite and that club athletes sit. Then you start to think about the 50 million kids that are involved in some sort of a sport in the United States, right? And obviously more than that globally. These kids, many of these kids are not paying the thousands of dollars a year. They're signing up for their local rec league, their local camp and clinic. It's for socialization. They're just trying to get better. Some of them go on to take it serious. Some of them don't. We also want to service that audience as well. And for us, it's more creating content in a sport that's age, skill specific, that's curriculum based, that helps any 7-year-old, whether they play in Indiana, New York City, or in China, to be able to adopt it and actually help them get better because we're giving them age and skill appropriate curriculum and specific content. But it's not just coming from Famer. It's coming from partners that are complete influencers and experts in that market, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just want to be the aggregator, the distributor, the hoster, and then ultimately we want to build businesses out of it. But we get a lot of interest from clubs. You know, a lacrosse club up in Westchester said, "I got 500 kids that are in my program, but this is run by like moms and dads. Like they're not people you would put on film and create like coaching content. They're organizers, they're volunteers, they're just like doing it for the fun of it." That's an enormous audience, obviously, for us to be able to bring them saying, here's the content curriculum. Just use this as part of your program, and you don't even need to teach it. You could just utilize it. Mom and dad can work with their 8-year-old or 10-year-old or 6-year-old at home to help them with that specific skill that's going to help them make them better at the sport that they're attempting to play. Very developmental. The other piece is certainly going above and beyond the United States, right? So we're tech is built out of Tel Aviv. We already have some really unique opportunities in Asia and Europe. We're trying to stay disciplined and not just run after every opportunity.
Yeah.
So certainly in the model and the market is very different out there, but we definitely see a need for that as well. And then I'd say for us, again, we talked about standing for coaches. Our B2C might never be, business to consumer where we're marketing to mom and dad saying, come the Famer. I think our B2C is more of our business to coaches. Like we want the tens of thousands of coaches that are out there working in coaching, training, already doing one-on-one coaching to utilize Famer. So we really think that is where the world is going, and that market is really endless for us. And then certainly could go beyond sports, right? I mean, we've built a platform and technology that works for youth and amateur sports, but it really could work for anything. So do we go to music? Do we go to private lessons in anything? It's built to do that, but we're pretty focused for the next 3 years at least on youth and amateur sports.
Yeah, no, I think this gives for the listeners that, whether you just graduated and your skill is basketball, or, you could be a pitching coach or a coach. This could be something that they can truly utilize, not only to expand revenue, but to understand the intricacy of the business, right? And then, like I was one of those coaches when I got out of college. I'm just like, all right, this is my skill right now. I graduate biology degree, but I'm not going to go do research. Right. So I pick up all these kids in the Westchester area, and I'm training them one-on-one. And one summer, in 3 months, I made more money than I've probably ever made, but I just didn't understand how to grow it, the scheduling, the process, how to monetize it, because now parents wanted to overbook. So this could be something that, they can utilize. So athletes, if you're listening out there, man, get on Famer, start the club. Take me through your day-to-day. What's your schedule like for anybody athletes turn entrepreneur, trying to get on the business side? What's your day-to-day like?
So it's interesting. On one hand, I used to love the consulting thing because I could wear a different hat on every call. I could talk, auto industry. I could talk technology. I could talk insurance. Like you're in like 10 businesses at once. And then when you take on a brand and you're trying to build a brand and build a company that's meaningful, that's successful for the long term, you get that one sole focus. It's like every day, all I'm thinking about is Famer. How can I build Famer? When I'm not with my wife and children. Had to make sure I put that in there.
Right.
So for me, I'm somebody who I like to move and shake. I can't like sit still. I like to be thinking about different things. I don't want to like just do the same thing over and over again. For any entrepreneur, this is that times 10, because every decision you make is impactful, is meaningful. Everything that you do has a trickle-down effect of time, resources, energy, success for sure. So part of how you should run your day is certainly organization, but a big part of me, it's trying to say what is most impactful and important as a CEO that I can do. Some of that is like with my team, making sure that I'm communicating with them on what they can do to help drive our business forward, but being clear with them, spending the time to educate, to inform, like this is our expectations, this is what we need to get done. So that's the people part of it is definitely like a big part of it, I think, that people underestimate. Raising capital, working with product and understanding like where the roadmap is going and where it should go, and working with them on that. Building, obviously, business development and marketing to try to like actually go attract clubs and coaches to Famer. The PR and the social part, which is I find the fun part because it's like, hey, let's go build up a brand. Like, let's go
Right.
build something that's meaningful. But you want to create a voice that's thoughtful. That's not, just kind of just, hey, we're Famer. We want to make money off coaches and clubs. It's got to be something that stands for something. So there's a big part of my day that is around where are we going as a company and as a brand and where do we want to go. The financial part, right, which is not always my favorite part unless you're doing really well. But it's really focusing on processes and like you're trying to set yourself up for, God forbid something happens to me or somebody else. Like you set up processes and systems in place that allow you to operate and run a business that's effective. And whoever's in that chair is able to pick that up, maybe make it better, but there's something in place. For an entrepreneur and a startup, it's probably the hardest thing ever because you do a lot on your own dime. You do a lot, with just like legwork, and that could be a rough part of it. So it's definitely the most diverse day that you could possibly have. And it was funny because actually on Monday, I had one of those days where I thought about it. I was going to bed at like 11:30. I started the day with an investor pitch. I had another investor pitch later that day. I sat in a financial meeting. I sat in a meeting with the club. I got home early to take my son to practice. I played basketball later that night. It was like these 18 things, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, even though it wouldn't be new because people have done this before, but like this would be an interesting to post. Not to say like, look what I did today. It's more of a, holy cow, that's a day. Like that's living.
Right.
Like I did it all today.
Did it all.
And you don't do it all every day for sure. And every day is different, which is exciting, but also, you have to be very self-motivated to operate in a system like that. But, you either the type of person that thrives in it. Whenever we interview people for Famer, we put them to the test because we're like, if you just want to point and shoot and not be a difference maker, this isn't the place for you.
Right.
We need difference makers up and down the organization.
So talking about all of that stuff, and you just went through your Monday, right? What are some of your wellness habits that you practice within yourself, right?
Yeah, so we always think that we can do better, right? But for me, I've been lifelong addicted to exercise, meaning I need some sort of exercise as many days a week as I possibly could get it. There's certainly days that between commuting and working and, and responsibilities at home, I don't get it. But those are bad days for me. I want as much as possible to do something, right? And it's good for your mental. It's good for your sleep. It has a trickle-down effect on everything that you do. So that, to me, just being active and doesn't mean that you have to, like, run a marathon or, like, play 2 hours of basketball. But do something to, like, get yourself moving, which will help you, up and down. The second thing is, really trying to take moments to myself, right, where I'm not letting the world and the business manage me.
Right.
I'm managing it. So I'm not like suffocating and can't breathe because I'm going from, 80 different things that I can't, like I'm just behind and I'm not prepared and I can't do this.
Right.
I think it's important to make sure that whatever it takes, whether it's the night before, early that morning, scheduling, things between like meetings, whatever, you want to be all in on that specific meeting, opportunity, phone call, discussion. And I think too many times entrepreneurs and any business people spend too much time chasing their tail and never really actually getting to the things that are most important. And what happens is a conversation with you, a meeting I had, I'm not really all there and I'm not giving them my all. So they leave with a half-ass like, yeah, he's fine. Like,
Right.
He didn't really give me his A game. Or B, I didn't think of I didn't get to what we really should have been doing together.
Right.
And then you miss that. And sometimes you don't have another chance. So I think it's really important to make sure, and again, I'm not somebody that can meditate, but taking a minute to yourself here and there, however that looks, feels, and acts, I think that's really important. And then I'd say the last thing is due to things like work-life balance is really important. And at Famer, we really preach that, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like it because we're working 24/7 and we're killing ourselves. But being able to take time with your family, doing the things that make you happy, whether that's going out for drinks, spending time with your kids, going for a run, whatever it is, I will always preach, no matter how big our organization gets, take time for yourself, do the things that you love. Because if it does start to feel like a job and all work, your performance will be hurt and you will start to resent what you're doing. Nobody's going to love work and what you do every day, all day. But I think it's really important to make sure that you factor in, what is it that I love to do? What are the things that make me happy? And make sure you do that. If not every day, you do it enough.
Great points, man. So I want to end off on this lasting point. What is your message to today's athlete? Lasting message. If you had to say anything, to your son, what is the lasting message you want to leave?
Yeah, it's a good, big question, right? I love it. So for me, I think it's really about use sports as a microcosm of like helping you achieve later in life. The things that you learn in practicing, training, performing at your best. And like we said before, your best doesn't have to be the best on the team. It's just your best. Are things that you're going to be able to take with you when you go to school, college, you go start a company, you go to work, you meet new people. They're going to see that you're somebody that has a plan, that's connected to what they're doing, a good teammate, somebody that can deal with all different types of people, somebody that can communicate. These are all things that sports are really helping you build if you do it the right way. If you're somebody that's a good teammate, you work hard, you're a good role player, even if your role is being the number one scorer on the team, you're playing your role because you're the best scorer. That's something that you're going to be able to build on for the rest of your life. I always say, and I don't do this all the time, although I have a lot of friends in the sports business that do, I want to recruit athletes. I want somebody who played sports. Doesn't mean you had to play D1 or pro, but I like that athlete mindset of somebody who worked hard, did something, and accomplished something, whatever that accomplished is for them.
Yeah, man, and I think that's big, man. And I think you spread a lot of knowledge throughout this interview, and I hope everybody gets something out of it, whether you're a parent, coach, athlete, entrepreneur, whoever, right? Tell the people where they could find Famer at.
So we're at www.famer.us. For us, we're in the App Store. We're also in the Google Play Store. We accept you if you're a coach or if you're a kid connected to a coach. We're more focused on clubs and coaches right now than the end consumer. So if you're a kid or a parent that says, hey, I want to be a part of Famer, sign up, and we'll get back to you and make sure that there's a place for you to go on it. But yeah, we're excited. Again, download it, and we're happy to to put you in the system, and you can start to see different ways you can utilize it.
Man, I'm excited to see where you guys go. And we'll continue our conversation throughout our growth periods and go from there. So thank you again for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
All right.
Good.
That's good.